Welcome to Music Free Static. This is episode 78, recorded today. What is today? November 30th, 2013. I'm your host, Randall Smith, bringing you all the static of those other podcasts, but not of the music. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving this week. It's, uh, it's a good time to get together with friends and family and enjoy each other's company before shoving a cranberry up somebody's nose. All sorts of fun. Of course, Thanksgiving starts the beginning of Christmas season. Basically, assuming you haven't already seen Christmas stuff up for the last 2 weeks already. Yes, Thanksgiving is the official start of Christmas season, and this is actually part of what I want to talk about in my first topic today. Um, what's So first topic today. Sorry, I got distracted. My kids are playing outside and they're making noise and it distracted me. It's all sorts of fun. They're enjoying the snow. Yes, we got a foot of snow last week, and being cold as heck, it's still out here. Okay, so anyway, um, topics. Again, Thanksgiving is the beginning of Christmas season, and of course, as we get into Christmas season, it's important to remember um, the reason for the season, they call it, right? Of course, the reason for the season is, Black Friday, right? Right? All the sales, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, woo, yay. Well, okay, no, that's silly. But Black Friday has become a big deal. Now, it's called Black Friday because this is the day that many stores get in the black. They actually start making profits this weekend because everybody's out shopping for Christmas. Now, there are all sorts of good sales. I was drooling over a sale on a Chromebook that Best Buy had. But Black Friday gets a lot of heat for lots of people on lots of sides for various reasons. There are a couple ways I want to look at this, and both they're both wrong, but I'm going to hit them both anyway. The first, you've got um, people going absolutely crazy at these stores, okay? Because you're right, if they don't get the latest toy, they're apparently the worst parents ever, or something, right? Well, so here's an example. There was a report. I saw this. My wife pointed this out to me actually in one of the Etsy forums, where this person was in a store. She was just up by the Canadian border. I can't. She didn't say which town she was in, but she was at a Walmart on Friday and watched and witnessed a grown man punch a young girl in the face over a toy. Okay. Now, you think about this for a minute. You think this guy would ever punch a young girl in the face normally? Okay, maybe. Okay, yes, that may be true. Um, but I think in most circumstances, people are sane enough not to punch children. Not all of them, obviously, but I think your average run-of-the-mill person who's out shopping on Black Friday on any day is pretty well sane enough not to punch some kid in the face. Well, obviously that's not the case here, right? Every year we get stories because it's fun and the news likes to play it up, but there are stories of people going utterly nuts and turning what should be a crowded but otherwise benign shopping day into a zoo, an absolute mob, where people are getting decked out over the latest toy, the latest electronic gadget. Of course, this is a big year because the last couple of weeks, Sony and Microsoft both released their next generation consoles, right? The PlayStation 4 for Sony, the Xbox One for Microsoft, right? And of course, they're big hits. Now, Black Friday has always been a madhouse, and I don't entirely understand why. It was a madhouse even before the sales really started getting going. Okay. But starting several years ago, probably many years ago, stores start pushing, their Thanksgiving sales. Why? Because most people have Friday off, and they have the weekend off usually, but they also have Friday off. So hey, spend that Friday, come start your Christmas shopping early, right? And so they started these sales. Now, it's interesting, the sales this year haven't been universally good, okay? Yes, there are some discounts on some things. There was a Chromebook, like I said, HP has this Chromebook, the Chromebook 14. It's got 4 gigs of RAM. Best Buy had the sale on it that I was just drooling over. But one, I don't live anywhere near a Best Buy, and two, I'm not crazy enough to go into a Best Buy on Black Friday. Okay. It's the $100 off the Chromebook now, which is significant for a Chromebook, which are normally run $250 to $300. It wasn't worth it to me. One, I just don't have the money just to drop on a Chromebook because I want to. I really wish I did, but I don't. Um, but I don't like crowds. I don't like the mobs. But the question I have, and I've sort of rambled, but this is really the question I have, is what turns people into idiots during this day? Why do people, when they go shopping, feel like they have to beat the living crap out of kids in the store as well as each other in order to go shopping? Okay. I mean, obviously, the sale is part of it. Okay, if I can save money, some of it is this artificial scarcity on certain things. Some of it's actual scarcity. I mean, I remember a couple of times when I was growing up. Anyone remember the Tickle Me Elmo? Right, that was this huge seller. Nobody expected it to be this massive seller. Nobody expected it to be the number one toy want of the season. And so there definitely wasn't enough stock on the shelves. The same was true of like Furbies. Other things like the Xbox and the PlayStation, people know they're going to want. Now, these have been out for a little while. I don't understand why it was so important to buy today or yesterday, because the sales on them weren't that good. They just really weren't. And to be the way the economy's going, most of the sales aren't that good. You have to remember that when a business offers a sale, they're cutting their profit margins, right? Whatever they normally make now gets cut because of their sale. And this is something now that, this is the other side of Black Friday that I wanted to hit. It's because you have a whole bunch of lefties, anti-capitalists, basically, railing against the consumerism of Black Friday. Now, I kind of do too. I don't like the materialism that has grown up around Christmas. But such is life when you have a holiday that's based a lot around gift giving, okay? Right? Because it's based on the tradition of giving gifts, as the scriptures said, the wise men gave gifts to Christ, right? And his family. And those gifts helped the gold and the frankincense and myrrh. It helped them get out of Jerusalem, out of Bethlehem, actually, and out of Israel entirely, and get to Egypt, where they were safe from Herod. But aside from that, you've got these people railing against capitalism. But what's interesting is, of course, Walmart is one of their biggest targets. Partly because Walmart isn't unionized, which is one, the unions hate it because it's not non-union. but also because Walmart doesn't pay its staff a particularly large amount of money. I'm not going to say it doesn't pay them well. I don't believe that. I believe that they Walmart pays them what they think their time is worth, which is true of any employer. One would hope is that they pay their employees what they think the time is worth. And frankly, there are a lot of people who are more than happy to work for Walmart for the wage that they're paying. Okay, so, but here's the thing about Walmart. Walmart makes its money, and it does make money, but Walmart makes its money at being one of the cheapest places in town. Okay, now I've got a link to where is this from? Is this from Hot Air? Or no, it's Ace of Spades. About people who are right, they're attacking Walmart for selling crap. Okay, so junk products and junk food. Okay, now admittedly, they do sell junk food. They sell chips and they sell crackers. They also sell fruits and vegetables. They sell bread and pasta, and they sell legitimately good food that's even good for you. And yes, they sell a lot of junk. Every grocery store in the United States sells what we typically consider junk food. Okay, but it's not like it's poisonous or anything. You know. Now, I don't buy groceries at Walmart, partly because it's actually cheaper for me to buy groceries at City Market, which is the local Kroger affiliate. And the store brands taste better. They're a little more expensive than the Sam's Club stuff at Walmart, but it tastes better. The value, it's a better value for me. And overall, my shopping bill is lower. On the other hand, I do buy things at Walmart because they're brand names, like Hidden Valley Ranch dressing. I love Hidden Valley Ranch, and only Hidden Valley Ranch. Nobody makes ranch except for Hidden Valley. They claim to, but they all fail. Okay, Hidden Valley invented it, and it's still the best ranch out there. And I go to Walmart to get it because we can get it in giant size there at Walmart because we don't have a Sam's Club or a Costco or anything here. Sam's Club, of course, is also Walmart, really. But I can buy it in bulk because I have a large family, and a lot of us eat ranch dressing. On our salad, yes, we eat salad. Sometimes my kids choose not to eat their salad, but darn it, we serve it to them. Because as parents, we can make informed choices for our kids. Like, we're going to serve them salad instead of chicken nuggets. Hey, guess what? Choice is cool. But I can get it cheaper. And that's one of the things about Walmart is a lot of the stuff, it's the same as what's in every other store. Especially looking at CDs, movies, toys. Unless it is specifically Walmart's store brand toy, Family Connection or whatever that their brand is, the toys are going to be the same, whether you buy them at Walmart or Toys R Us or through Amazon. The toy is the same freaking toy, right? The fact that Walmart is able to sell it for cheaper means that my dollar goes farther. It means that everybody who shops there's dollar goes further. They cut their profits down as low as they can stand. Yes, they cut their wages down. They're doing their best not to overpay. That sometimes means it's less salary and more. I mean, basically just fewer staff. Anyone who's ever had to sit in line at Walmart watching as there's only one cashier, only a couple of cashiers, and there are 50,000 lanes unmanned. That's why Walmart's trying to keep their staffing costs in check. But all of that means that they have lower prices on, well, not everything, on a lot of things. You know who that helps the most? It helps the poor the most. Because it means that even if they're not working at Walmart, if they're working anywhere else, or even if they're just living on welfare, okay, it means that their dollars go further. It means that they're not having to spend as much on food and clothes, and they can spend more on whatever else they need. Okay, and this is a good thing. This is an excellent thing. Lefties will rail about the evils of Walmart, and I'm not going to say they're saints. Okay, they're certainly not. Nobody really, the, you know, everybody makes decisions that somebody doesn't like. Okay, but because Walmart's been able to bring down the prices on a lot of these things, people have been able to spend money elsewhere. Maybe they get to buy an extra toy. Maybe because they've spent less on food and clothes, they can actually afford to buy a toy for their kid for Christmas. Maybe that means that they're able to uh, actually have food to eat because it was cheap enough that they can have more than mac and cheese on Thanksgiving. Maybe it means because they've got a little extra money in their pocket, they're willing to um, donate that money to help somebody else. That's one of the things that these big box stores help with. Okay? No, their pay is not great. Admittedly, they're not paying um, vast sums of money for people to stock the shelves and man the cash registers. That's not a bad problem. It's not a bad thing. Okay. Are they paying them minimum wage? A lot of them, yes. But there are a lot of people who are more than happy to work for that because it provides enough money for what they need. No, you're not going to live high on the hog working at Walmart. Certainly not as a as a greeter at the door or a stockman most of the time. Because frankly, it's unskilled labor. You can pull anybody off the street to do that job. Okay. Those people are not going to be, lining up to get an Oldsmobile or both an Xbox and a PlayStation. They might be able to save up for one, okay? But they don't. I mean, that's not their. I mean, they're certainly not going to be living high on the hog. But and that's the trade-off Walmart has chosen to make. So look, we'll pay you what we consider fair. If you don't like it, work somewhere else. If nobody thought that pay was fair, nobody would work at Walmart. I mean, it's the way of things. Those people with those jobs accepted that pay for that work. They made the choice to work there. Now, I've sort of ranted and raved about that. The thing is, I'm a capitalist. I've freely admit it, and I actually well, I don't say proudly. I don't like to speak proudly because I don't like pride. But I am very happy to say that I'm a capitalist. Because I think capitalism tends to fix more problems than it breaks. Okay, it works more often than it doesn't. Okay? What I don't, well, I'm perfectly happy that give people choice. Hey, gonna go raid a store. Let people make their own choices. If you don't like shopping on Black Friday, like this story at Ace, it links a bunch of stores. I think he pulled the comments from the New York Times because the Times was basically looking for these type of comments. If you don't like Black Friday, don't shop on Black Friday. Fact is, if those stores didn't get those shoppers, they wouldn't do it. If they weren't getting such a mad rush to be there on midnight or 4 a.m. Friday, they wouldn't be pushing to open on the evening of Thanksgiving. The fact is, this is what people want the stores to do, and the stores are more than happy to oblige them. All right. Now, there is a solution. Okay. One, just don't go to the store. Okay. It's a real simple solution. Just don't go to the store. So here's what you can do. Okay. It's a real simple solution for you. Okay. listen carefully. If you instead, rather than going to the store, pull up your favorite web browser and go to lovinghandscrochet.etsy.com, you can do your shopping there. Really? Yeah, yeah, you could go to Amazon, you can go to Target, you could even go to Walmart.com, but no, no, you don't want to go there. You instead want to go to lovinghandscrochet.etsy.com because this is the place for all sorts of great handmade crocheted stuff. And there's lots of good stuff for gifts or just for yourself to stay warm. Let me show you some of these. Okay, so here's the store. Lots of Afghans, lots of scarves, lots of things to keep you warm. Some of them are just stylish, right? There are a couple of these really cool ruffle scarves in pink and purple and blue. Um, but if you want something to keep you warm, this is a great scarf. It's a rectangular lacy scarf. It's in brown and tan and white. Um, it's just great for keeping warm at home. My wife is never warm in the winter, and never. So she's got a sweater that she pulls on, and she's got some wraps. Well, she's also never warm at church. Now I'm fine. We'll be sitting during um, the first sacrament meeting, and I'm comfortable or even getting a little warm in my suit. Yes, I actually will wear a suit from to church. It's great, but I'll be warm, and she'll be sitting there all shivering and cold. So she's made scarves and wraps like this, and they're great. They go great with her dresses. Um, she's because it keeps her warm. And I said they go great with her dresses because nothing says quite as much like sitting in a chapel surrounded by a bunch of people with their big heavy coat on. Okay, if you still want to look nice without looking like Nanook of the North, this is a great idea. As a wrap like this, so it gives you nice warmth and it goes with goes great with the dress. Another great thing if you're looking for a little style and a little warmth are these fingerless gloves. They're mid-length, so they come about halfway up between your wrist and your elbow. And she's got them in gray, she's got them in tan, and these are fabulous. Again, if you go to lovinghandscrochet.etsy.com, click on the scarves and other things section, and you'll see these. They are bamboo and silk. So they're very soft. They're really nice. I mean, it feels great. My wife loves working with this yarn because it's so soft. She just wants to get a skein just to touch and feel because it's great. This feels great on your hands and it's warm. So it's great. You can just slide them on because they're only mid-length. They're not going to bunch up under a coat. These are wonderful gloves. And I said these are bamboo and silk. So they're soft and they're beautiful gloves. The other thing is hats, because everyone thinks about hats. Oh, grab a ball cap or something. Ball caps are great, but they're not warm. That's when you might want something like a beanie or a stocking cap. Of course, I always talk about the Viking hats, so I won't get into those much. Of course, you can find those, again, at lovinghandscrochet.etsy.com. But if you jump over, here's this wonderful hat. It's a pink. She calls it it's a thick beanie with a scalloped edge. And it's cool. It's a bunch of different shades of pink because it's a variegated yarn. And it's big and it's warm. It's thick. So this will keep your head warm in the coldest of temperatures you should find, at least in the continental United States. Seriously, I hate being cold. I love having this. My wife made me a scarf a couple of years ago because it was getting down to, oh shoot, it was 20 below when I was walking into work some days. And I walked because it took less time to walk than it would take to start my car, warm it up, and drive to work because it was just that cold. And the scarf is a wonderful. So having a good scarf and a good hat and even good gloves, even the fingerless ones. So maybe you don't need full-on mittens but you just need something to help keep your hands a little warmer. These are great, and they make great gifts. So check it out, lovinghandscrochet.etsy.com, and yeah, avoid all of that Black Friday crap and just shop online. Okay, moving on. So we had big news in Colorado this week. Basically, Evie Hudak retired. Hudak was a state senator. She made a name for herself by by pushing some of the gun rights legislation or anti-gun rights legislation in the state Colorado legislature this last year. She was initially targeted for recall, and then they decided, no, we'll wait on that. We're going to focus on John Morse and Angela Herron and get them out first. And they did. Those two were gone. So they started targeting Hudak. And they've been going. My dad's been up there at some of helping collect signatures and at some of the one of the stations up there because he lives in that general area. And it looked like they were going to collect the signatures to get her off, to get a recall on the ballot. Now here's what makes it fun. Colorado's legislative session starts in January. If they'd managed to turn in the collect the signatures and get them turned in, they could have had an election the end of December or the beginning of January. If Hudak had been recalled, which actually looked to be somewhat likely, because again, most Coloradans don't like it when you go for their guns, which she did. Okay, so if she had been recalled, it would have flipped the majority in the state Senate. As it is, because of the two recalls down in Colorado Springs and Pueblo, Democrats hold a one-vote majority in the state Senate. If Hudak had been recalled, they would have lost that majority and given it to Republicans, which Hickenlooper probably would have actually liked. Not that he would have liked his party losing power, but it gives him a chance to play the moderate again. Okay. As it is, he didn't veto anything that his legislators sent him last session, and it had a bunch of this really extreme crap: gun rights, anti-gun rights bills, the energy mandates that basically went raping and pillaging through rural Colorado. It's just nuts. So, unfortunately, for Hickenlooper, Hudak resigned. Now, the way it works in Colorado, I can't speak for other states, but in Colorado, if a legislator resigns or otherwise is unable to fill their office, they die while they're in office, they go to prison, they resign, they get nominated to a federal position, whatever. Okay, some reason they're no longer able to fill their post. Their party convenes a vacancy committee. And the vacancy committee then gets to choose who will fill the seat until the next election. Okay. This is almost completely non-democratic, because what you have is a representative who's being picked by a few party elites rather than by the people they are representing. Okay. And that's what's happening here. Now, there are basically two Democrats in the running for this seat. um, according to the Denver Post. It's former state representative Sarah Gagliardi of Arvada and um, current Arvada City Councilwoman Rachel Zenzinger. Okay. Now again, the Post says they are vying for the seat. That doesn't mean they're trying to win a district-wide election. What it means is they're trying to convince this vacancy committee to pick them to fill the seat. Now, this is not exactly the most, most democratic process in the world. But this poses an interesting challenge for Democrats. One of the things they could do is put in, a rabid socialist gun hater. Okay, I mean, they certainly could. They could put in the most extreme person they want to because they don't have to face an election until November. They could even, sit quietly for this session, other than rubber stamping the votes on, with the rest of the party. And then, after they've won an election, then really go whole hog. Remember, it's hard for incumbents to lose elections. Okay? It's harder for incumbents to lose elections. Now, whether it's going to make any difference or not, I don't know. I do know, of course, Democrats will keep the Senate. There's been a lot of talk that Democrats are going to push more aggressively on their environmentalist, anti-energy agenda, perhaps pushing fracking bans, statewide fracking bans. Now, those would be really ugly for a couple of reasons. One, they passed a law a couple of years ago that required all coal power plants in the state to be converted to natural gas. Okay. I don't like them being forced to it, but they made the choice. One of the reasons they pushed to convert them to natural gas is, one, it's cheaper. I don't know that they actually care about the cost of energy production, but it's cheaper. But it's also more environmentally friendly. It doesn't pollute nearly to the point that coal does. Okay, and that's great. The other reason that it's great to have natural gas plants versus coal plants is that there is a freaking ton of natural gas. There are large, and I mean huge reservoirs of natural gas in Colorado. There are huge reservoirs they're finding all over the nation, but Colorado is sitting on one of the biggest. This is why fracking is such a big deal, especially to those guys up in the northeast corner who voted to secede. Or some of them didn't, but you had 6 counties, I think, vote to secede or vote to push that. One of the reasons they did it was because natural gas drilling, and oil drilling, but natural gas especially, is the lifeblood of those communities. That's how they get their money, as most of it comes through the tax revenue of these companies pumping natural gas. and what they're seeing, and what you've got these Boulder and Denver elites saying is, no, we're going to kill this off, and basically we're going to kill off your economy. We're going to, they've got basically 2 things on the Eastern Plains. You've got natural gas, and they've got farms, and that's it. Well, you get a drought, okay, that kills your farming, right? Your farms, your ranchers, all that. You get a drought, and it drops significantly. Having an extra source of income is a good thing. But for a lot of these communities, natural gas is the source of income. I mean, that's where all the money that comes to help fund their schools and to help fund everybody else's schools. This is the other thing. It's a lot of the tax dollars collected from mining this crap and pumping it out of the ground goes to fund education. Well, once again, Boulder and Denver elites are more than happy to say, yeah, screw you. We just think this is bad and we should ban it. Now, fracking's been used for decades. Okay, it's used safely for decades, and I don't think they won't be able to ban fracking completely. In fact, if you go follow my tweets at Pearlstalker on Twitter, PERLSTALKER, you can I've tweeted a bunch of stuff, or if you go to delicious.com/musicfreestatic, you'll see a bunch of these links that I've shared about the Broomfield election where they were banning fracking. And the night of the election, it was losing by like 13 votes. The next morning, it had passed by about 20 votes. And now we're finding huge amounts of voting irregularities because of Democrats' new laws. This is the type of things Dems like to do, is they like to ban all this crap just because they don't like it. Hickenlooper was a geologist. Okay, he knows this stuff is safe, and so he would veto a full-out ban on fracking. That doesn't mean he won't let his Democrat friends regulate it into the dirt. Okay, he certainly could. So that's going to be interesting. Now, I want to put this in a slightly separate light here for you. Why this her resignation, in fact, the other two recalls are interesting from a national perspective. Okay, there have been, and there always are actually, but there are a number of gun bills sort of sitting in the queue, is sitting in committees waiting for something to happen to them in Washington, D.C., especially in the Senate. Democrats are looking to, again, push their gun rights elimination agenda, in Washington. And this is one of the reasons why. Okay. In Colorado, Democrats pushed bills to limit gun rights, and 3 of them are no longer senators. Okay. All right, Texas. You couldn't come anywhere close to banning guns in Texas, or Utah, or Wyoming, or Montana, or any of most of these western states. Okay. You just couldn't do it. But Democrats are hoping they can get enough support in D.C. from Democratic senators, for example, senators from California and New York and all over the place, right? Because Democrats do have a majority in the Senate, plus a few squishies, such as the occasional Republicans from Maine, or John McCain out there from Arizona, or Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, and hope that maybe that they can actually do the bans at the federal level rather than the state level. And the idea is they're not accountable, right? The people of Texas can't hold the senator from California accountable. Okay, they can't hold the senator from New York accountable because it's freaking Texas, right? Nancy Pelosi represents San Francisco. She is in one of the safest seats in the entire nation. She will die in office. Basically, she will either serve until her heart stops, she just keels over from old age, or finally, whatever chemicals she's using to keep her alive will cut off, and she'll actually resign. Okay, the Botox won't be enough anymore. She'll actually resign. Whatever it is, she's got that job as long as she wants it. And there's no reason for her to try for anything else. She's got the easiest race in the world. She's basically, she goes through the motions of a primary, and she'll get through the primary without too much of a hassle, and then there's no one really. Yes, there'll be a Republican opponent, but it's such a strongly Democrat area in San Francisco that she's not going to have to worry about it. So she can push as an extreme agenda as she would like. And her constituents are fully supportive of her. which actually, when you think about it, is okay. She's pushing an agenda that her constituents want. Okay. But what happens is, to pass a bill at the federal level, all you have to do is convince a majority of congressmen, 60 senators, and the president. Right? You're looking at about 300 people, right? That's not a lot compared to trying to pass laws at every single state in the union, right? This is why I think this type of recall is important, because it not only is it telling in Colorado's, hands off our guns, okay, but what it's doing is it's forcing the advocates to push everything up to Washington. And that's actually a problem on both sides, whether you're pro-abortion or pro-life, anti-abortion. Well, rather than wage the battle in the states, they're trying to wage it up in Washington. Civil unions and gay marriage. Yes, they're making inroads in the states. Colorado is one, and I've mentioned it before. I'm all for civil unions. But rather than fight that battle in 50 different states, if they just win it in Washington, they don't have to worry about it. And that's why so much is pushing up to centralized power in D.C. And that's why the federal government, when it was designed, right, you read the Constitution, it has limited enumerated powers for Congress. It was supposed to be very small. It was supposed to regulate trade between the states, okay, make sure we had uniform currency, so South Carolina couldn't tax North Carolina, couldn't tax Colorado, that type of thing. Not that Colorado existed right at the time, but that type of thing. Make sure the United States spoke with one voice, so you didn't have an ambassador from New York and an ambassador from Massachusetts and an ambassador from Virginia. Okay, you had an ambassador from the United States. It would defend the nation as a whole. It wasn't there to decide who gets to vote. This is the fun thing. There's nothing in the Constitution that denied women the right to vote. Nothing at all. Not one single word of the Constitution denies a woman the right to vote. That happened at the state level. And it was starting to be undone at the state level. There actually was no reason for a constitutional amendment to push women's suffrage. Heck, you had these western states like Wyoming and Colorado. These were some of the first states to grant or stop denying women the right to vote. Yeah. But if you look at the 10th Amendment in particular, right, it basically says, all right, we've lined out the federal powers. These are the things the federal government can do. Everything else goes to the states. Okay. The 9th Amendment says we didn't list all of your rights here, but it did say in the 10th Amendment we've covered everything the federal government can do. Everything else goes to the states. The idea is it kept power decentralized. It kept the power closest to the people. Okay. How many times do you actually get to see your state senator, or your congressional senator, congressperson, or your congressperson, your senator, representative? But I can't speak today. Excuse me. My mind is, maybe it's the hat. Okay, I'm wearing. If you're not watching the video, I'm wearing a Santa hat today. Maybe that's just screwing with my mind. But really, how many times do you see your congressman or your senator? Okay. Now, down here in southern Colorado, I see my congressman maybe once a year, possibly twice, depending on whether or not I find out about a town hall or not. I think I've seen my senator once since he was elected. I don't think I've even seen him. I don't think he's even held a public forum down here since he's been elected. Either of them, Bennett or Udall. Udall's been down here at least once. But I don't know that I've ever seen Bennett down here for an open forum. But even if he hasn't been down here more than once or twice. Now, Colorado's a big state. I mean, that's going to be an issue in Texas and California and anywhere else. There's no accountability there. Right? On the other hand, think about your city council. Think about your um, county commissioners. You're going to see them a lot more often because they're living in your same freaking town. Okay, they have to live right there with you under those laws. Now, Congress seems to find ways of exempting themselves from most laws. They tried to exempt themselves from Obamacare, and I think are still trying to argue that they have exempted themselves and their staff from it, which actually is illegal, I think. But you can see why these types of recalls are a problem. And I think that's why you're starting to see fewer pushes in the states and more attempts to drive this type of thing in Washington, and why people are so upset when things get gridlocked. They get gridlocked because what's good for Texas and what's good for California are rarely the same thing. Especially when California wants to do something like ban oil. Texas, that's their lifeblood. So, all right, let's move on to something else because I've ranted about that, and I really want to talk about this other story here. So, there was a story at Reason.com. This is from mentioned that this law that's being proposed in Switzerland. Okay. Let me read you a quote from it here. It says, the Swiss are set to vote on whether their country should introduce a basic national income of 2,500 Swiss francs, or $2,800 a month for every adult, regardless of their salary or net worth. A date for the vote has yet to be announced. Now, the rest of the Reason story goes on to tout this as a libertarian alternative to welfare. And it has some good things to go for. Imagine you just eliminate the entire welfare state. Everything. Food stamps goes, Medicaid and Medicare go, right? Obamacare, of course, is right out. All of those individually targeted entitlements, welfare programs, they're all gone and replaced with a national minimum salary. Okay. So you get so much a month, whether it's, as the Swiss are pushing about $3,000 a month, or what you can set. I think in the Reason story he talked about putting it right at the poverty line, whatever. His argument was that it would promote responsibility because basically here you've got an income. What you spend it on is your deal. And it's not the government's place to say you can spend it on this and can't spend it on that. Okay, right? This is one of the things like with food stamps. Food stamps let you pay for food, right? You can buy food for yourself, for your family. You can't buy booze. You can't buy pet food. You can't buy any of this stuff, right? You can only buy food. Right? You're not going to go out and buy a PlayStation with your Snap card. Which makes sense. If I'm going to give you money to buy food because you're starving, I expect you to buy food with it. Okay? You would think that would be a reasonable expectation. Well, what the proposal is saying here is that okay, we'll just give you the money straight up. This is your salary. This is all you get. If you want to spend it on drugs, spend it on drugs, but it means you don't eat. Don't come crying dust because you're now hungry. Okay. So this will pay for your rent. If you blow it on booze, you blow it on a car, blow it on that, like a Mercedes or something. Don't complain to us when you have to go live in that Mercedes. All right. So on some level, it's right. Now, the problem is at the highest level, it's totally and completely wrong. It's immoral to take by force money that somebody's earned and give it to somebody else. It's completely immoral. if that's done by anybody except a government, it's called theft. Right? The other fun is that once such a deal was in place, one, you'd still have people who'd want to push things like Obamacare and uh, rebuild the welfare state. Because why not, right? We're just going to give you more things. And what you end up doing is you have people who start campaigning on, we will raise the national income from $2,800 a month to $3,000 a month, to $3,100 a month, to $4,000 a month. And just like you're hearing Democrats whine and complain about the minimum wage, they'll start whining and complaining about this not being high enough. Now, the thing with the minimum wage is the money has to come from somewhere. It comes from their employer. And the employers, they don't have the money to pay an increased minimum wage. They don't pay you that because you've been fired, or they cut your hours. Okay. Or they pay you that, but they've fired your coworker. Okay. Minimum wages are just really, really bad. Okay. With basic national income, it's the same thing. Confiscate the money from somewhere. And whether it comes out of the income tax, congratulations. Part of your income tax, we will pull $1 from everybody, or $2 from every, or $100 from everybody, and drop it into this national income. Okay. It's a plan that is so open for corruption. Right? That's all you campaign on. Now, the good thing is, it becomes a lot easier to, in some ways, it becomes a lot easier to argue, right? Because what you've got now, you've got socialists coming at you from every direction. People are starving. We need to increase food stamps, right? Was it 75% of the farm bill was really just food stamps? Then you got people, people can't afford health care, so they hit you on that one. Oh, people can't afford housing, so we will put in a program to encourage people to buy houses, and we won't worry even about background checks. And then, of course, housing market collapsed because, surprise, surprise, the reason they weren't buying houses is they couldn't get loans because they couldn't afford the rent. They couldn't afford to pay the mortgage. Now, if we are going to have a welfare state, I don't believe we should, but if, because I think really, in most cases, private charities do a much better job than the government at taking care of people who are using their services. And they do a better job of ensuring that the people get off of the services. Not because they just get booted off, but because they get help to find jobs, find an incomes they can live. But if we were going to have a welfare state, this isn't the worst I've heard. Okay, aside from the fact it's totally and completely immoral, as frankly I think the entire welfare state is. Basically, it says, all right, this is your income, you're on your own. Whether or not the poorest who need this are responsible enough to do it, I don't know. I would hope most of them are. Of course, I don't know that Congress is the best example. And they're already looking at trying to increase the spending that they have cut over the last few years, because they believe in Black Friday too. They like to spend as much as they can all at once. Now, again, this is a better idea than some, and frankly, it's one that I would think would be best managed by the states rather than the federal government, as almost all of this stuff is. And here's another reason why I think it would be best handled by the states. One, $3,000 a month isn't bad where I'm living, out here in rural Colorado. It's obviously you're not going to be wealthy off of it. I mean, you're not going to be out, living large in your Oldsmobile. In California, you won't be able to afford anything because the cost of living in California is so much higher. So, fine. If you end the federal programs, do something like this at the state level. Of course, I think you should just end the federal programs and let states do it all at the state level. And then you can have a state that says, okay, rather than deal with Medicare and Medicaid and food stamps, energy payment assistance and housing assistance, and I don't know what all, so we will implement a minimum salary. We'll base it off the cost of living in our states, so in Colorado or Wyoming or in California, and let those individual states deal with it. That would be a more libertarian push, is let the states handle their own welfare systems. And this would be this would be a simpler one. Now, I saw somebody on Twitter argue that it'd be just as complex. I don't think that's the case, because when you have one program versus 100 or even 20, you're going to have a much simpler system. Plus, when you don't have to worry about, is this eligible to be bought with this program, or is this housing eligible for a subsidy, or do you make enough that you no longer get a subsidy for your health care? Yeah, who knows? It's something to consider. The other thing is, when you've got one program, it becomes easier to say, look, in Colorado, this is enough. See, when you're looking at, again, cost of living versus the salary, if I take a job making $100,000 in Colorado, I'm doing all right. If I take that $100,000 a year job to California, now I'm just scraping by. So let states do their own thing. Okay, let them decide how it's going to work. That, I think, is a program that might help. I think it would certainly work a lot better than the vast number of overlapping and wasteful plans that we have now. Okay, I've ranted on for long enough. It's time to shut down. This has been Music Free Static, episode 78. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 3.0 United States license. And I will be back again next week, though I haven't decided if I will be back in with the Santa hat or not. That is still yet to be seen. Tune in next time and you can see it for yourself. Until then, this is Music Free Static signing off.